People, Deluded, I'm back again. Now, let's speak about Callum Hudson-Odoi, and after we'll speak about Bobby Duncan. Now, I think the current situation Callum Hudson-Odoi finds himself in is an interesting one. One where you can't really pick a side without considering all the variables. I think there's factors that are unfair to Callum. I think people being unfair about his physical situation. But there's also an element of what he could have done better, both currently and maybe not even being at Chelsea. What I feel he could have done better, in fact, first and foremost, fans are unhealthy. I see it at Arsenal. Everybody was, couldn't stop saying Reece Nelson when he was on loan and come through the academy. He gets his start. The same energy people are getting onto him. I'm not saying don't praise and critique man fairly. If someone played crap, they played crap. If someone played good, they played good. But it's unhealthy with the flip-flopping. The man's a young player. It's like people see this perception of what they're going to be at one level and fail to understand. To get there, you need to, to build Rome, you need to lay a brick down every day. It goes against them and they see a logic, and it's not rational for fans. It's not healthy. He's still a young player. How can you expect Callum Hudson-Odoi to be a difference maker if he's got nowhere near 50 or 100 appearances under his belt? That doesn't mean he doesn't need to improve. That doesn't mean he doesn't need to do things better. You can't. He's trying to get consistency. I saw it. Fans were begging and begging for him to start, and I think it was against Liverpool. He had an iffy game. Same energy to condemn him. Same time, he's got to show it, because it's weird. But when you look at Chong of United on loan at the moment, when you look at Hudson-Odoi, when you look at Nelson, ironically, they've all at a point, they were all, I won't say necessarily this in Chong's case because there was a couple of ballers, but these three were standout players within their academies. Everything they touched turned to gold. They were faster, they were stronger, they were quicker. And when they've gone into the first team, they've all struggled. Is that because of the expectation? Is that because of the mental aspects? Is that because, things they're trying at first team level where they could get around it, first team level defenders or whatnot, they're not having it? Have they realised, you're not as special as you thought in a healthy way? Because for all of them, they've all got potential, but ability is irrelevant now. You've got to be able to show consistency. And I do think, obviously, it's down to Callum in the rare opportunities he gets to make sure he leaves them up. You look at Saka. Saka made sure he took his opportunities, and now look, he's starting games and getting 90 minutes and things like that. It's harsh, but you've got to take them. That being said, I think fans are unfair. He's had an injury. The mental aspects that go with an injury. If you've all had an injury, the physical wounds heal, the mental don't. You're scared to play in the same sort of way. You're playing in a handbrake. Injuries sometimes force you to adapt a different way. He was out for a long time, so he needs to get back. Training is one thing, playing is the other. Just because he's fit again and he's played one match doesn't mean he's ready. You need to get 5 or 10 games under your belt, get his rhythm again, get the continuity again, get his confidence again. You'd see a better Callum. The problem he has now is he's working his way back from injury, and like I said, I sympathise with him, but you've got to consider the Chelsea dynamics. Lampard is talking about league titles. They've brought in some good players. On one hand, that's great. You're playing for Chelsea. It's not a youngster thing. Only the best of the best youngsters will be here, because you've got to fight with some world-class players, top-class players that are being brought in. So if you're not doing the business, you don't deserve to play. It's that simple sort of thing. And that's probably harsh. He's probably coming back to fitness at the wrong time, because Chelsea's ban's over. They've brought in Ziyech. Werner can be used out wide as well as up front, as can Havertz. Mason Mount, forgive me if I'm wrong, was used at a time against Liverpool out there. There's competition for places. You've got to take them when they come, Loftus-Cheek was handed a start against Brighton. There's competition in that midfield, and might even be another midfielder. He didn't take his opportunity, so he was hooked early, and then against Liverpool, he wasn't in the squad. Now, like Callum is, for Loftus-Cheek, it's tough because he's still trying to get back to his best of his game. But at the end of the day, are Chelsea trying to develop Callum Hudson-Odoi for the sake of developing it, or are they trying to win trophies? His opportunities will come. I have to wonder if in training and tactically he's doing everything Lampard requires of him, because there's also that reason as well. And, this was a man that Chelsea were begging to keep hold of, give a big contract to. Bayern Munich wanted him, and, many people would say, you weren't going to play at Chelsea. How are you going to play at Bayern Munich with now Sané and the rest of them? That might be true, but I know for a fact, make sure you check out my podcast with Secret Scout as well. It's on Patreon. It's a good little podcast. Bayern Munich they still got a big interest in Callum. They had big plans for Callum, If he wasn't going to be in the starting lineup, he would have got more minutes. They wanted to give him the number 10. They sent him shirt. They really wanted him, and they backed their chat. When you look at what they're doing with Alphonse Davies and a couple of players, Jamal Musiala, a former Chelsea lad as well, on the books, playing in by being on the bench in the Champions League and scoring in the league. You know, they ruled out all the stops, so he must be thinking, rah, Chelsea, well gone for this. You begged me to stay, gave me a big deal, you gave me the number, you know, and now look, you man forgot about me. And I'll say this, a promise is a comfort to a fool. I'm not calling Callum Hudson-Odoi an idiot, but maybe he should have considered that regardless, what is the landscape going to look like when Lampard can actually do everything he wants to do? I need to go to a team where I can play, and that was out of Chelsea. You know, the cynic in me would say, yeah, you know, you're not doing the business right now to demand starting, but you know, I would have done the same if I was in Chelsea's books. They'll do everything. They'll promise you everything, tell you everything, give you a good deal, you know, to tell you to stay and convince you. And now, look, you're twanged because you're now on a big contract. You know, you're going to have to force the issue. You know, you handed in a transfer request and all of that. I honestly feel, ironically, if Lampard wasn't there, you would have left. But, you know, there's a double-edged sword. I feel there are reasons for him not being in the side which are legitimate, out of his control, and people need to give him time. But at the same time, tactically, he doesn't deserve to start right now. And like I said, he's got to be selfish, but Chelsea can't just say, you know, it's the Tomori show, it's the Hudson-Odoi show, it's the Loftus-Cheek. These players have got to take it. It's like at Arsenal. I want all of these young G's to make it, you know, but they've got to take their chances, you know. I've seen Saka take his chance, Martinelli take his chance, to a degree Eddie take his chance and get more of a stature within the side. Joe Willock, Emil Smith-Rowe, Reece Nelson, you know, they're all talented boys. I want them all to blow, but they've got to take their chances, because or you're just going to be part of the side and in a couple of years moved on. So I feel it for Callum. Apparently there's talk of leaving permanently and on loan. I think it will be a loan spell. Like Reece Nelson, he needs to go out on loan, stay injury free, get fit and get some confidence under his belt. The Athletic have been reporting, and as you lot know, he's played just, despite the fact that at the beginning of the year he started 6 games in a row, he's played just 10 minutes this term. Like I said, he needs a run of games, but he needs to earn it, and there's a lot of competition for places in his positions. He's going to have to bide his time. You know, he had a tough time with injuries, and he sustained a minor injury again in 2019-20. Out of 1,350 minutes Chelsea have played after the restart, Callum Hudson-Odoi has been on just 203 of them. So when we don't talk about injuries and things, and we talk about a manager, I have to wonder, because you have heard Lampard has spoke to him on several occasions, what the manager is requiring for you in that role tactically. Like, he's giving you a set of tasks before a game. Are you doing it? And if you're not doing it, can he trust you? If he can't trust you, naturally you're not going to start as much, and you're going to keep being this impact sub, you know, because he's got good strengths off the bench. He's quick, he's strong, he's good 1v1, you know, but you don't want to do that. You want to play, and that's only going to become if you listen to Lampard, what he demands of you tactically, and if you switch your game up a bit. He got 90 minutes, which came against Bayern Munich in the Champions League, which, you know, obviously was a dead rubber. Apparently, sources have told The Athletic that his representatives are considering setting up a meeting with the club within the next week to discuss the winger situation and how much of a role he has. Another has claimed that Chelsea are already in the process of arranging a loan move elsewhere, and things could be finalised by the weekend, although this has been denied by people close to Callum Hudson-Odoi. And what I would say, I think, you know, fans can have their criticism, but I think they are a bit too harsh of Callum and a lot of young players, really, and it does look like it affects him. The article went on to say that as well. And Lampard had the best reply, people. You know, when asked on Callum not playing, he said, "I'd be surprised if any player is not disappointed when they don't play games. With Callum, he has to focus on the work he puts in on the training ground day in and day out. I've said it a few times. I have to think about how players train, how they play within the team, how we work on the ball, and how we work off the ball." So again, tactically, are you doing everything he demands of you? Are you applying yourself 100 in training? If he's telling you certain things, are you reacting to them positively or in the way he wants? Because Lampard was a good trainer. You know, if you do them all in the right way, you get more of the manager's trust, so you're more likely to start. You can spell out what happens the other way. So again, while I have sympathy for his injury, for his criticism, for him coming back to fitness at the wrong time, sadly, when there's a lot of options around the side, and it's good for fans, you've got to, if you're not doing what the manager asks, or he doesn't feel you're applying yourself 100 and he feels others are, you're not going to play. And it's for Callum, you know, it's for Callum to give Arteta a good headache. Man said Arteta. Lampard a good headache. To say, okay, how do I, you know, I've got Pulisic, he's my number one. I've got Ziyech, I've got this guy. Give him a headache. And, you know, you're like Arteta said about Nelson, your chance could come in the next 3 minutes. It could come in the next 3 months. Just be ready and take your opportunity. Simple as. Because Callum has the ability to play in that Chelsea team. He has the ability to be in an option. Right now, he has to concede. You know, with coming back from injury, with not being flavour of the month, he needs to bide his time. I can't lie, if I was him, I would go for a loan move, because I feel at this moment, it would be, you know, healthy just temporarily divorcing from Chelsea and being Callum the man to be of the star of the future. Go somewhere where you're going to play, where you get your confidence up, where you get, you know, and these things there, and then return back to Chelsea a stronger man, and whatnot. And, you know, going on loan or leaving permanently is the best thing he could potentially do if he wants to go to the Euros next year. I don't think he should be in a rush to leave Chelsea. I think he's Chelsea's future, but I can't tell a man nothing. Apparently, the Athletic have been told that a major club, not necessarily Bayern Munich, will make a push to sign Hudson-Odoi this week. So we'll have to see. Lampard went on to obviously say the rest of what he said, I have no favourites. I don't lean on people because I like them. I lean on people because I want them to be successful, which will hopefully make everybody here happy. Callum is a young developing player, and a lot of talk has come his way because of the way his career has gone at a young age. The fact remains the same for all young players. You have to work every day to put yourself in the frame to start. And apparently it's understood that Lampard has pulled Callum Hudson-Odoi aside for a talking to, positive or otherwise, at the club's training ground on a few occasions over the last 12 months to trigger an improvement. So maybe there's an attitude issue. I don't like to be that guy, or he wants to see a bit more. Maybe it's a thing where he thinks Callum is too complacent and happy with what he's got, and he wants to push him to be even better, be a player that Callum might not even be able to see he can be, sort of thing. You have to be very careful. But I like Callum Hudson-Odoi, man. I really want it to blow for him. Now, apparently Bobby Duncan is joining Derby. Now, I rate that that move, you know. It's not worked out for him at Fiorentina. And I think this is a man who, you know, for a young man, he's played for a lot of clubs. He's played for Wigan, he's played for City, he's played for Fiorentina, he's played for Liverpool, and now he's about to play for Derby. You know, I think he's a talented player. I first saw him at City, badding it up. He left, he went to Liverpool, badded it up, trained with the first team. You know, Klopp liked him, he wasn't quite ready. You know, his agent done a madness and was quite critical of Liverpool, and then he went to Fiorentina. And it didn't work out for him at Fiorentina, and now he's going to Derby, allegedly. For me, you know, he needs to settle, you know, potentially get out of that Johnny Big Balls mindset where you're a big fish. Realise that you need to be easy, because I think people don't show the moves. I don't think it's necessarily not worked out, but I think this is the flip side of this. When people talk about this Jadon Sancho, go abroad and you're going to bang, you know, it didn't work out for him. It didn't work out for Louis Barry. Now, at the end of the day, he's still young. You know, at the end of the day, there's still benefits. You went to another country. That could help you in your career, adapt somewhere else. And you're still young, you know. At the end of the day, it's you ain't killed no one, you ain't died, you know. It's just you've gone to a football team and it's not worked out. You just joined a new football club. You're still a young man. I think Derby for Bobby Duncan's a great move. I know for a fact Derby have been trying to buy young talented players from top 6 clubs, in particular my club. There's a certain individual, I won't expand. So they are looking for young players. Even if you just watch Derby, they've got a fantastic academy. You know, young players do get opportunities. You've got Sibley, you know, you've got Whittaker, you've got Morgan, forgive me if I'm wrong. You've got Whittaker, you've got another one like that as well. Is it Alfie Morgan? I could be wrong. You've got Bogle, who's just went to Derby, you know. You've previously had Will Hughes, you know. You've got you've got that left back there as well. You've got a couple of players at Derby. So he's in the right place. If he goes there, bads up, his chance will come at Derby. He will get his opportunity at Derby. I think moving to Derby is a fantastic move for him, really and truly. But this is a young man who I don't know if his career's been led in the best way, man. It just seems like his advisors and his family around him have just not been good for him, because he's got up and moved. You know, he was moved to Liverpool. Obviously, Liverpool's his home. He's a Liverpool lad. Gerrard is his son. Gerrard is his family member. But did he move to Liverpool for legit reasons, or was it because, you know, his dad's looking at he's got 2 other little young sons there, we can have them all there, sort of thing. When he was at Liverpool, he then started to issue demands, and him himself, you know, in hindsight, he's 18, 19, moving a bit immature, and he'll learn from it. You know, he's playing up to stuff on social media and whatnot, and it hasn't worked out. So I think in hindsight, he'll learn a lot, really and truly. But I'm happy to see Bobby Duncan move to Derby. I think that's a great move for him. Obviously, Derby are in advanced negotiations for Fiorentina in the hope of striking a deal. The 19-year-old has not played a senior game for the Italian club since he left 12 months ago. So on that note, you know, it's not been a success. You know, he was going there to play games or get closer to the first team. I don't know if he's been on the bench. I don't know if he's trained with the first team. It's not worked out. That's at base level. I do think there is some successes because you learn from your failures, you know. He might have learned a decent level of Italian. He might have learned to adapt to a different way of life, a different way of football, a different way of tactics. With these young players, you know, it's going to be a thing where they're moving abroad, you know. He might move abroad at 25. You know, he's already adapted to that sort of stuff, you know. So, and he's still young, he's 19, you can still have a future, but what he needs to do is settle down, you know. You look at his career, he's moved around too quick. He's been at City, he's from Wigan, he was at City, from City for a decent amount of time, but he's gone to Liverpool, he's been there for a little piece. Florentina has only been there a year. You can't go to Derby and start issuing demands and moving mad. You've got to bide your time, be patient and wait, because I do think Derby is a great club for him and a club he will get opportunities at. But I don't know that beyond just being a fan and being a fan of what Derby do as a club, people. So we'll have to see, man. We'll really have to see. But I've got nothing more to add. So on that note, people, Deluded, I'm out, man.